Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today I have Ty Walrod on the line. He's co-founder and CEO over at Trustbound AI. Ty, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. It's good to be here.
All right, so we got a great topic today. So an entrepreneur's approach to securing enterprise AI. So we've been talking a lot about AI on this show, and now we're going to get into some of the enterprise discussion around it. But before we do that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Ty, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for experts. That's what we do. Ty, what mission matters to you?
My mission is to build organizations and products that achieve large-scale, enduring positive impact on people and society. I co-founded OutServe, which became one of the highest growth advocacy nonprofits in recent US history, garnering the support of several million people in the public and helping to bring an end to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, for which we were recognized by President Barack Obama. I also co-founded and was CEO of Bright Funds, a venture-backed tech company that became one of the leading technology platforms for corporate philanthropy. We worked with companies like Cisco, VMware, Campbell Soup Company, and many others, transacting hundreds of millions of dollars before our acquisition. And now I'm building Trustbound to help people leverage the most advanced AI models while protecting their privacy and security.
Love bringing mission-based individuals onto the show to share why they do what they do, how they do it, and really what we can all learn from that so we all grow together. So great to have you on. Before we get into Trustbound AI and your current project, give us some of your other wins here. Take me back in time. Like, were you always an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've been building companies and tinkering my entire life. I've always had a passion for technology and how we can apply it to living better everyday lives. And that's what brought me to San Francisco after college. I started my career in San Francisco, working actually at Deloitte on VCs and tech companies, doing audit to cut my teeth. And then I worked for a
What year was that roughly? What year was that roughly?
I moved to San Francisco. My first day on the job was in 2007.
Oh, wow. So that's pre-tech wreck. That's like right before tech wreck and everything that was happening. So you lived it up there. Wow.
Went right through it. Yeah, I had left Deloitte and worked for a high growth software company that came out of Stanford's CS group. And it was a very sophisticated technical product company called Coverity. I was on the finance and co-founded the business operations team there as well. And we went through that, like every company was navigating the downturn, but we did a good job of it and we provided a lot of value to our customers. And ultimately that company was acquired by Synopsys.
Yeah. What was the first one? So after you obviously go there, what was the first one that you went out on your own, like in that time period of your life? What was the first one?
Yeah. So while I was the software company Coverity I just described, one of my close friends called me one day and said, Ty, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to lose my job under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So he was blackmailed under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I was like, that's what Don't Ask, Don't Tell is? I was a civilian. I really had no idea. I didn't think much about it. But here's this good guy who was, graduated from the Air Force Academy and was an officer, went from being an officer in the military to going to lose his job because of his sexual orientation. And that blew my mind. So we quickly co-founded an organization that became OutServe. And that's where we created a movement. We leveraged technology. We built a hidden network of thousands of active duty service members, and we were part of creating a movement. It was a nonprofit that was sort of like scaling like an early stage high growth tech company. And we learned a lot from that. It was surreal. We didn't sleep for 3 years. I was glad I was in my 20s. I don't know if I could do that now.
What are some of the things you took out of that first experience? Like in terms of whether it's building, whether it's the community component, like what were some of the learnings and takeaways? And the reason I ask, by the way, is because there's some people you're further along now. Now you're tenured, you've done multiple things, had some exits, like Trustbound AI, it's mature, you're a mature entrepreneur. But back then it must have been kind of like just sinking your teeth into a project. It's your name behind it. There's a lot of passion, a big cause behind it. What are some of the learnings?
Yeah, I mean, part of one of our learnings was punch above our weight. There's
Mm,
some naivete in starting a new organization when there were lots of incumbents,
yeah.
and we weren't competing with them. We just wanted to
Yeah.
do things differently and make a change. So, we really went for what we wanted. We punched above our weight. We also asked, we got our needs met in terms of we asked for who we wanted to meet, and it
Mm,
didn't take, I called the most connected person I knew in San Francisco. She's a friend who, she went to Stanford GSP, but she also was in a Navy reservist, and she
mm,
introduced me to someone else who introduced us to the White House. So
mm,
I was two degrees of separation from the White House Office of Public
yeah.
Engagement.
Mhm.
And, we made asks like that to create a lot of momentum. You know, we
Mm.
we were on the front page of major news publications. In fact, we were on the homepage of CNN.com at one point. So I walked into my tech company
Wow.
job where I reported to the chief financial officer, and he
Yeah.
says, "Ty, is this that organization you founded?" And we're like, "It's front and center CNN.com." And I didn't even know it. He knew it before me. So and I was like, "Yeah, that's it, actually." So I think a little bit of
Mhm.
naivete when we were young and just not trying to.
Yeah.
We were just coloring outside the lines to get, to do what was right and create momentum.
Mm.
And we always did the right thing. By coloring outside the lines, I really mean we didn't necessarily adhere to norms. We didn't even know what they were. We just knew what our mission was,
Yeah.
and we were moving really fast to achieve that. And we learned a lot from that. I sometimes describe that experience, which now is just, is years ago, it's 15 years
Mhm.
ago or so, but I sometimes describe the feeling of that as holding on to the outside of a rocket and just being like, I hope I don't fly off. Um, you know, we quickly built, expanded our board. We brought on a spokesperson who was
Mm.
on, almost, every TV show that would talk to us. And, we professionalized quickly because we knew that just the two of us couldn't handle the size of the opportunity by ourselves. And so we
Mm.
got all the help we could get, and it made a big difference.
Man, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. Holding on to the side of a rocket ship, trying not to.
That's a visual that is just like perma etched into my mind.
Oh, I love it. And I like that concept you mentioned about being naive and not really knowing maybe how it's, you didn't say this part, but how it's supposed to be done. Because of that, you're just moving forward. And I could think about Mission Matters when we first started. I had no media background. So I don't say I was holding on to a rocket ship. I say I'm on this train and it just keeps moving faster and it just
Yeah.
hold on. Like that's how I've always felt. But I like the rocket ship better. I need to upgrade. I need to think bigger. I like this, Ty. This is good.
Yeah, well, that's what it felt like. I mean, maybe it's felt a little better than being on an actual, you know,
No, but I'll take it. No, I'll
big
take it.
Falcon
It's all
rocket.
good.
Yeah,
let's
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
let's switch it up a bit here. So let's go into what you're working on present day. Trustbound AI. First, tell us a little bit about the company. Let's tee that up.
Yeah, so we're an early stage company. I'm working with a really seasoned team, so I pinch myself every day to get to work with
Hmm.
this group. There's 5 of us on the co-founding team right now, and what we're doing is, if you think about like people leveraging the latest AI models right now,
Yeah.
it seems like everyone, and I know we're in a bubble of the West Coast in some ways, but the reality is like many
Mhm.
knowledge workers are leveraging AI models to just stay competitive and do their jobs and do quality work.
Yeah.
A problem that comes with that is enormous amounts of sensitive data are being leaked outside
Mm.
the security perimeter of a company. And
Mm.
so shadow AI is a problem. People are using personal devices and personal accounts. People are using lots of tools outside of just the one or two that their company might have vetted and approved. And so
Yeah.
we created Trustbound to sit as a control layer between a company and its people using
Mm.
chat or its applications or agents, and the outside world of LLMs and other AI tools. And we can identify more than 99.9% of sensitive information of myriad types, from PII to health information to financial information,
Mm.
things that regulated industries care about and just companies that care about their data care about. And
Mm-hmm.
we sanitize that so you get the power of the most advanced AI models
Mm-hmm.
without them having access to your raw identity data.
Yeah.
So we're not redacting it, which is kind of easier. We're actually putting what we call smart placeholders in place for your sensitive data. And it
Mm.
allows you to have access to those models as an employee of an organization who's using Trustbound and get the power of those models without those models ever getting your sensitive data. And it also gives
Mm.
peace of mind to the chief information security officer or
Hmm.
anyone else who cares about not leaking sensitive company data, customer lists, finance information, etc.
Yeah.
It gives them peace of mind because they actually have control and visibility to what type of data is going through the pipeline, what groups are using what tools,
Mm.
etc. So it's peace of mind, it's security, and it's a
Yeah.
great user experience for the end user. They're less likely to want to use their personal devices or unapproved channels
Mm.
because it's actually a really nice experience to use Trustbound.
Yeah. How'd this idea come about? Like, where'd this come from? You mentioned 5 different co-founders. That's interesting to me. How'd the idea come about?
Yeah, so this idea, like every startup, I think there's probably at least one startup in history that is still working on the original idea, but ours is one of the other 99.9% that started working on something else. So
That's
this team
great.
originally came together working on a problem in the legal AI space,
Mm.
and I started advising that initiative and working with that team. And during that process, we started to see a much larger opportunity and pain
Mm.
point, which is what I've described. Is like
Yeah.
just the enormous amount of sensitive data going out of these companies every day. It's almost like the hacks that we've read about in the past, security intrusion from people coming in who aren't supposed to be. I think that might pale in comparison to the type
Mm.
of data loss we're experiencing right now, and we don't even know it. So
Yeah.
that's how we pivoted into this. It's a very new company, but we have customers, like we're focused on different size of direct customers
Hmm.
from some SMBs, some small cap, mid cap, and then we're in early conversations with some Fortune 500 companies. We're working on several channels for our
Hmm.
embedded product. So rather than our sort of chat user experience, we have an API that will protect sensitive data so we can work with
Mm.
developers, software companies, and we're in a number of those conversations. We just won an RFP with our first state government. So we're
Mm.
working on getting that inked and agreed, exploring a couple of other opportunities as well. So
Mm.
we're running a lot of there's a lot of go-to-market channels we're pursuing right now for
Yeah.
as early as we are, but the technology works really well and it's built to be very scalable.
Yeah. Well, first, congrats on the RFP. That's awesome for government. That's
Ah,
amazing.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah,
for
those don't grab
sure.
themselves to you.
Can you give an example of how an employee might, for people that are listening, there's some business owners listening. They're like, okay, but my employees maybe wouldn't do that, or maybe they even know they're doing it? Like, how are employees doing this? Just to kind of get a little rudimentary on this, so that give some examples there.
Yeah. So one example is we're working with the CEO of a boutique advisory firm. So
Hmm.
he founded and built and exited several companies, and now he has a firm that works with CEOs of other companies.
Yeah.
And he does calls with these CEOs, and they generate transcripts that are loaded with
Hmm.
sensitive data. They put those transcripts through Trustbound to use Claude's models. So you pick the
Mm.
model you want on the back end. So
Hmm.
OpenAI models, Claude models. We're introducing Gemini support shortly. So he will run those transcripts, which are loaded with PII and other sensitive company data,
Hmm.
finance data, etc. Run those through Trustbound. It sanitizes everything. Then they get the power of Opus, etc., whatever models they want
Hmm.
for reasoning and inference. And then all the sensitive data is rehydrated when the response comes back. So as the end user, it's almost like you sent all that. You're working with all the sensitive data. It's right in front of you. You
Mm.
don't lose
Mm.
visibility on it, but you
Yeah.
get the utility of the model without the model receiving your data. That's one
Mm.
example, is just like a transcript loaded with
Yeah.
PII. Another example is, say you're an
Before
analyst.
you go, Ty, before you go to the other example, juxtapose that one for me. Let's say they weren't that particular CEO is not using Trustbound AI. What would they normally do, and like where's the danger in that?
What this person was doing is manually redacting and putting placeholders in for that sensitive data,
Oh
because
wow.
his agreement and his firm's agreement with his clients, as far as I know, is such that he's agreed not to send that raw data to model providers. Now,
Mm.
that's not to suggest that model providers aren't trustworthy, data is encrypted at rest,
Of course.
etc.
Yeah.
But there are breaches, and
Mm.
there's another, and often people don't want to use just one AI tool. There's hundreds
Yeah.
of them out there, so we kind of give one control layer for the company to say if everything is running through Trustbound, we
Yeah.
care a little bit less about as thoroughly vetting every one of those providers, even though we're likely to have an enterprise agreement with
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI or Anthropic. So we give one place to secure that data. And
Mm.
without it, it's either manual redaction or not using those models or putting far less sensitive data through there.
Mm.
What's happening on the other hand, and that's because this client of ours is being very responsible. What's
Of
happening
course.
in sort of everyday life with the average knowledge worker is
Yeah.
they need to do their job. They need to stay competitive. They're not being nefarious or a bad actor, but they're actually just dumping sensitive data through their personal ChatGPT account
Yeah.
or Claude account. They may or may not be contributing to training data, and they certainly don't have control of that data once it is, left their
Yeah.
machine. And
Yeah.
so we kind of solve for all of that.
Man, that's interesting. Give another example. I just wanted you to juxtapose those two before you moved on. You had another one you were teeing up.
Yeah, so this is just this is one that we've heard because we were, insurance and finance broadly are big verticals where there's just tons of sensitive data, even though you could think about
Mm.
every industry has a lot of sensitive data.
Of course.
So imagine you're an analyst at a large insurer like State Farm, and you want to, evaluate these 50 policies and find the outliers. What were the 10 most expensive claims in this zip code? So I
Mm-hmm.
dump a bunch of data with, policy holder, policy number, address, claim description, type of loss. So a
Mm.
prompt for an analyst at an insurance company or an adjuster might be just loaded with sensitive data. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
they have to house these models in house, have them locked down. They often are not the latest, most high performance models. And what Trustbound allows is that uh, analyst could drop a prompt just loaded with sensitive data right into
Yeah.
Trustbound, pick the model they want. I want this version of OpenAI, send it out. It does its inference, comes back, and all the
Mm.
sensitive data is rehydrated without, again, none of the models ever get sensitive data. So
Yeah.
it's it it brings you the utility of these really powerful models, which helps, people stay competitive within their company. And it also helps companies stay competitive relative to the market, giving them a really powerful tool set without making that impossible trade-off of, do I have to leak my data to get the power of these models? Or do I
Yeah.
have to run one of these models in-house and privately, which is more expensive and less flexible?
Mm. Can you talk about the core capabilities of Trustbound AI overall?
Yeah, so right now the big pants on fire moment is solving the chat problem. People are
Mm.
sending, it's kind of what we talked about, using trust-bound chat instead of
Yeah.
going to a third-party model, and that's what we're doing primarily right now with
Mm-hmm.
customers. But we also have an API, as I mentioned. So Trustbound, our
Mm-hmm.
chat product actually runs on our API, which is more of an infrastructure layer. So
Mm.
the API that we've built, we're licensing to technology companies that themselves want to, they're working with Fortune 500 companies, et cetera. They need a way to protect data. We're working with technology companies. We're working with companies that develop their own internal applications that will have access both internally and outside the company to really powerful models to protect that data. And then where things are going is companies are developing their agentic AI strategy. So
Mm.
companies are creating agents that will have access to enormous amounts of finance data, customer lists, patent information, research. And so Trustbound can be embedded at the agent level or application level to provide that very same type of security that we're
Yeah.
providing to humans using chat to protect their prompts. And if we think there's a lot of of traffic happening through chat, like agents will probably have exponentially more traffic
Mm,
because they're sort of unbounded in terms of speed, the way that humans are. They
yeah.
think and type faster than us.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine what that's going to look like soon, or have for
Yeah. So
some.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, if I zoom out and think about, a higher level way to describe what we're doing, we're kind of
Hmm.
moving from this era of deterministic security where, you know, like security follows very specific rules. For example, if a social security number shows up, like we're never going to miss it, right? Just like
Yeah.
other security companies are never going to miss it. But we're moving from an era of deterministic security to one of probabilistic security where you
Mm,
don't know exactly what might go into a model or come back from the model. And you need to be prepared with a different security mindset and posture.
mm,
And Trustbound is built to where, we're going to identify the deterministic security examples nearly 100% of the time. But we're also built to
mm.
identify types of sensitive data that we've never seen before. And we've gotten really good at identifying novel types of sensitive data because of the way our own internal AI is built. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It's very hard tech that we've spent time developing and we can continue refining. It's very
Mm.
cool.
I love it. This is as I'm listening to you talk about this and what's next. It's exciting to me to see because all of this to me, if we can solve the security part of things and make this easier for employees, for the knowledge workers to be able to choose between different AIs, between different models they want to use, and to do it all in a secure manner. I feel like things just move faster. Like it's just things move faster. People are more productive. Like you said about the technology officer there or the security officer, like
Yeah.
their life's a little bit better because I can't imagine what they're going through, right? Like that
I
their life's
mean,
a little better. Yeah.
I think about that every day. We've talked to a lot of chief information security officers and, people similarly positioned who are
Mm.
responsible for data security. And they're kind of in an impossible position right now
Yeah.
where if they lock things down or take a more conservative posture, then shadow AI continues to be a
Hmm.
major problem, which it is today. And people aren't happy with the tools that are offered. Maybe they're like, yeah, we're offered Copilot. And I'm not knocking Copilot, but
Yeah.
a lot of times that's someone's only choice, or maybe just, have an open AI license. And um, if you lock it down and the user
Mm.
experience isn't that great, or maybe your internal security tools redact and then handicap the what goes out to the model, then what you get back is kind of garbage, and people just do their own thing. On the
Yeah.
flip side, you open that up, you're leaking. You don't know what's happening to your data because you don't have control of it. They're kind
Yeah.
of like in a tough position either way, and so we're hoping that the way that we have built Trustbound
Mm.
kind of solves that difficult, almost impossible problem.
Amazing. Ty, this has been great. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for Trustbound AI?
So what we're focused on right now is raising awareness for the company. We're having lots of customer conversations.
Hmm.
We are really focused on our growth and expansion, go to market. We're early enough that every one of our customers is, giving us feedback to, we're not a large enterprise.
Hmm.
We're an early stage company. We really care about doing our job right, doing a good job for our customers. And so I'm really grateful that all of our customers have been very helpful in providing us the kind of feedback we need to build an even better product. But yeah, we're focused on growth, go to market, expansion in several of those channels that I ran through. And I'm really excited about what's ahead for us. We're hitting the ground running.
Fantastic. And for everybody that's listening, how do people follow up? How do they connect? How do they learn more?
Yeah, come check out trustbound.ai.
Mm.
That's where you can
Fantastic.
find us.
And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me right. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Ty, man, appreciate you coming on. Thanks again.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.